I'm joined now by Aviation Safety and National Airspace System Specialist, Philip Mann. Philip, great to see you. Make sure I get your title right. What is your reaction to this most recent close call? I mean, I know I've talked to you before. Does this alarm you, or is this the warning system working as it should?
It's a little of both. I mean, I am not concerned about it, but there's lots of pieces that probably aren't available to a lot of the public if you don't look really close. Because in this particular case, there are multiple air traffic controllers involved. So the small plane, that 274EF, that was under the control of one controller. The passenger jet was under control of another controller. But the aircraft involved were all going exactly where the controllers told them to go. The only real issue there, it's not super unusual in Class B airspace that aircraft might pass as close as 500 feet to each other. Now, these got a little bit closer, just a little bit closer than 500 feet. But they were operating and going exactly where controllers had them. If we heard a little bit of audio from the controller that was talking to the jet, and the controller talking to the jet was not talking to the other plane. So he didn't know that controller had actually told the Cirrus jet, the Cirrus plane, the small plane, to actually descend from 3,000 down to 2,500, which the plane did. But everybody was in control there, and it's just people being, it sounds a lot because the jet did get what's called an RA, a resolution advisory, which basically told them just keep flying the way you're flying and don't climb. But that seems to be what people are triggering on. Everything else was completely within, more or less normal parameters, minus that little 25-foot discrepancy where they got down to 475 instead of being at 500, but nothing super unusual.
All right. So Philip, I hear you say that. But again, as I think so many people, I mean, how did those planes get so close in the first place? Not only how, but why? And could we keep seeing this happen?
Yeah, and the thing is the air traffic controllers are trying to maximize the use of space. If you think about distance is kind of like bandwidth, they're trying to use all the space they have. And in this case, they went all the way down to the absolute minimum safe distance of 500 feet, which is allowed in Class B airspace when the air traffic controllers are managing managing the approaches and vectors and things, which they were in this case. So if they were a whole lot closer than this, I'd be concerned. But to kind of put it in perspective, the allowed distance, the 500 feet is allowed. And that 500 feet is roughly equivalent to like a 45-story building. In this case, they got 40 stories apart. They were still separated by about 40 stories, 38, 40 stories. So there was still a lot of distance between these aircraft. It was just close enough that it flagged a couple of alerts to tell the people that oversee the air traffic system that, hey, take a look and make sure nothing squirrely is going on here.
You know what, using, I think, that building analogy, that really does help illustrate it. So thank you for that. All right. But another thing, Philip, I mean, this incident came just a day after that landing at Newark Airport, where that United plane clipped the light pole. We see the video right there. Then that truck on the New Jersey Turnpike. The plane did land safely. No one on board was hurt. That truck driver, sent to the hospital. He is expected to be fine. Newark, though, as you know, considered one of the New York metro area airports. There are these issues at JFK. There have been issues at LaGuardia. Is there an overarching theme here? Does something need to be re-examined at these New York airports?
Well, I think there's a lot of things in play here, because of course we have the potential. There's always that potential that there's some air traffic staffing issue that's contributing to it. But in this case, this particular one where the plane came in awfully close and clipped the light pole, this is actually much more similar to what we saw at Reagan National, where there's probably a procedural thing that needs to be looked at. Because it is totally normal for a plane that size to land on that runway. It's just this plane is actually a good bit lower than they should have been. Possibly they were under pressure to land quickly, so they're coming in as low as they thought was safe, and it was a little bit too low. But there's possibly something to look at with how that particular runway is used and whether that needs to be adjusted or that glide path needs to be changed or something like that. Because it's my understanding, talking to a couple pilots I know, is that's a little bit of a squirrely approach to begin with. It requires a very, very high degree of attention, and there's a lot of weird characteristics to it. But the main deviation there is that plane was a lot lower than they should have been. So it'll be centered around whether that's how does that need to be fixed, and does that whole airport approach need to be redesigned?
Yeah, I think, like so many airports where there is a nearby highway, when you're driving on that highway and a plane's coming in, it can be a little nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah.
Philip, man, always great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.